Hello, podcast lovers. Thank you so much for tuning back in. I'm your host, Žana, and today I'm so excited. Today we're going to talk about mind shifts and mindsets and taking a leap out of your comfort zone into something completely unknown. And my guest today, Mr. Rich Bruno, we've met at a mastermind meeting a little while ago. And first of all, I would like to say thank you so much for being here, for your time, for your open heart, and for your transparency. I know we privately already, got in tune to each other, and I think we very much connected on the fact family. We have very similar views on what's really important in our family, and I think our European background also plays a little bit of a role how we really connected with each other too. And I'm so happy that you're here and that you offered yourself in this episode today. And honestly, I want to jump right back in because I know that for a long time you were a very big person in corporate America and you had like a crazy good job. And so when we talk about mindsets and shifting mindsets and just understanding what it means to really take a leap and still have fear because we're jumping into a pool that we have no idea how we're going to get there, but then also the rewards that come with it once you really are so rooted within yourself and your own ideas and your own trust within you that you can and you should do this. But I really would like to start kind of like from the beginning, diving into the topic of how do you even got involved with all of this, and literally what was for you kind of like the, I don't want to say breaking point, because I mean obviously you had a great career and you were happy, but like what was really the nudging point in your soul where you're like, you know what, this is good, but this something is missing. Like what was that really until you got there? And was there like a thing that happened, or how did that happen? And welcome, by the way.
And I'm so happy to be with you, Žana, and thank you so much for having me. So I'm thrilled to be able to just
Sure.
have this conversation with you, and share my experience. And I guess as we talked about, pre getting into this live podcast, is to say
Mm.
that the hope is that it just inspires somebody, right? If someone takes
Right.
away something positive that triggers an action for them, or just gets them to move off of a position they're on, just to go and take a chance maybe on themselves, that alone would be great. Right.
Right.
And there's a lot to go through around the taking the chance concept and what does that really mean. I'll get to that. But just to rewind and go through kind of the journey and answer some of your questions, I was a very successful corporate, supply chain leader at a great company, Johnson and Johnson. I had a 30-year career. At about 7 years before I ended up deciding to retire, which we're certainly going to talk about, I became a small business owner. And I'm someone who's just very passionate about just having an impact on other people. My family first, of course, friends, relatives, just people that you can inspire in some way, right? So I started a small business concurrent with my career at J&J. And I think that's a very big factor leading up to what
Right.
we're going to get into, and the mindset shift and making the change and what was the trigger and all that. So very successful career, no reason to leave. Started a small business, never owned a small business before, jumped in like all in on just the passion for helping people in the health and fitness space to live better lives. That's really what it was. I did this program. It really inspired me. It became a franchise. I'm like, sign me up. I want to help so many other people.
Right.
And I did it probably without thinking of all the consequences, to be honest. I mean, I had my full-time gig. I had three kids, 8 and under. I had twin 8-year-olds and a 5-year-old, like a very, very busy household. I didn't need
Right.
to run a small business, right? It wasn't like I need this because I need to pay the bills. It was just I need to go do something that's going to fill my heart, but also I know will benefit other people. So that was the reason for jumping in. So I went along this path for 7 years. It was an absolute grind, like hard to believe looking back that I actually did it, right? Very active owner operator in a business, which required a lot of my time. I mean, I my day started at 3:30 in the morning. It probably ended at 11:30 at night, and I did that 5 days a week. And then I worked on the weekends on the business. And I did that for 7 years straight. So here I am, 54 and a half at the time. And what really was the light bulb moment for me, if you're asking, like, what was that trigger? I just
Hmm.
was reflecting on my quality of life. And I think the real catalyst to all of this was really appreciating the value of time. That was it.
Hmm.
It was appreciating the value of time. And I was racing through everything. And I started to realize that. Did everything with my kids. I mean, who's got a soccer game? Who's in a dance recital? Who's playing T-ball? Like there was, I was like a top. I was spinning like a top. And
Right.
I did this for a very long time. And I like to put all of myself into something. So it wasn't like, ah, fine, I'll just my corporate job, it'll just be a layup for now. I won't really, I was all in and everything. And it was a grind. It was really flat out exhausting.
Yeah.
I needed to pump the brakes. So that was the light bulb moment. I needed to pump the brakes because I was doing everything, but at a pace I did not like. And I wanted to improve my quality of life. So I literally had to make a decision because I felt like I couldn't keep doing everything. I did a lot of soul searching. I asked the right questions, the financial questions. Can I retire? What if this? What if that? It was very thoughtful. So I don't want anyone in the audience to think like, oh, I just said I'm going to tap out and just, let the chips
Right.
fall where they may. It was very thoughtful. That said, there's a lot I still didn't know. As you were saying earlier, like there's that level of uncertainty. You got to make a leap. And I truly made a leap. So I made a decision to retire literally 2 weeks after I turned 55. I stopped working. I
Wow.
switched over to running my small business exclusively. So I was able to really put a lot more energy into that business. I actually had 3 locations that I was running at the time. So it was still very full-time work. Um, so I focused on building the businesses and running them more effectively. But about 3 months after I retired from J&J, I wanted to do something else that was going to help other people. I just didn't know exactly what it was. I wanted it to be outside of the health and fitness space. So I decided to get certified as a coach, speaker, and trainer through John Maxwell. And I started coaching people like literally within 5 months of retiring. And I've been doing that for the last 5 years. So the big leap was I need a better quality of life. I can't do it all. Something's got to give. What's it going to be?
I
And then,
have a question to
yeah,
that, if I may, because it literally just pops in my head. Is it safe to say also that it was hard for you to release control in things that you knew you couldn't do by yourself, but were not comfortable enough to say to whoever or whatever? That could be anything. It could be hiring somebody for more money. It could be involving another person in your family more deeper. It could be saying, I'm gonna give something up because I simply can't, and I'm not so good at, for instance, bookkeeping or whatever, because we have great talents at so many things. But it was that part ever where you internally were like, you know what, I cannot give up this control because nobody will do it the way I do it. Nobody
I
will
don't
be
think
as
that,
detailed or
no, I mean, if you're
no.
referring to like the small business specifically, I think it
Mm-hmm.
was the fact that I was just so invested in it. I'm a very hands-on operator. I'm not a
Right,
silent, leader or owner.
right,
I had a great staff. I
right.
appreciated the value of people in an organization. I mean, that was a very big focus of mine, even in my corporate career as I built teams. So I
Mm.
made it a point to really surround myself with great people in the small business that
Right.
I appreciate very much to this day. Many of them are still with me from the very beginning. And so it wasn't relinquishing responsibility or power or control. It was, I wanted to be fully invested in that. And I felt like I couldn't do all of it the way I would expect to do it.
Right.
And most importantly, it was the personal side that really ruled the day. It was,
Yeah.
I can't do both of these professional things and fulfill my personal needs. That was it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I've got to be more deeply involved in my family activities. Again, doing everything but kind of checking boxes. I wanted to enjoy the ride. I was
Right.
racing through everything. So it wasn't let go of control. It was let me improve my quality of life by doing the things that I want to do more of. And truly appreciating the value of time because, like, you know this, and your audience knows, but we don't often think about it. We don't get it back.
Never.
Can't like it's not a do-over. Like it just, and you don't even know. There's nothing promised either. Like nothing is promised. So God forbid something can happen and without, you having any control over it. Right. So to
Mhm.
me, it was such a deep appreciation for time and what I wanted to do at that time. How could I have the
Mhm.
biggest impact on my own life and the lives of others? And it wasn't through doing all of those things. I had to give something up. I just had to.
Mhm. Yeah. And I also feel like sometimes when we are put in these positions where we feel internally that something is missing, that fulfillment of soul levelness where we feel like we came here for a purpose, right? And sometimes I feel like when we have those realizations, I think a very challenging part for so many is to how can I still maintain keeping my paying my bills because those never stop either. Just like time never comes back, those bills that we have, like mortgage, rent, phone bill, and all of that, that still keeps going. And I feel like a lot of times I found that people really have a challenging time wanting to do what they're still want to do internally, but they don't know how to maintain paying their bills because that income, if they would leave such job like yours, it would straight up mean a cut, even though yeah you are freed up now to be more focused and more in tuned
Yeah.
on things. But how what is your suggestion on
Yeah.
those kind of things when you know what I'm saying, when
Yeah.
you want to do something.
I was really blessed in that I was able to make that decision. That's a great point. Like not everyone can
Mhm.
do that. What I will
Right.
say is that in terms of advice, and I didn't realize it at the time, but it certainly came to bear years later, many, many, many years later,
Mhm.
right before my children were born, which is almost 20 years ago. Um, I got a financial advisor. So to the point you made about you might not be able to do bookkeeping or this or that, I am absolutely a believer in if you're not the expert at something, go find someone who is.
Right.
So I got a financial advisor, and my problem statement that I presented him with was, Craig, we're about to have twins. I still want to live a very good life and I want to be able to be a great provider for my family. And I want to have long term, financial wealth. I want to be, whenever that time comes to retire, whatever. And I didn't say, listen, I want you to set me up so I can retire at 55. It was never a thought in my mind. Never, ever. I was about 40 years old when I made this decision and to get a financial advisor. And that's one thing I highly recommend for anybody because I'm not the expert in how to manage my finances, like to prepare for the future. I'm not talking about, budgeting for my rent. I'm talking about preparing for the future. And I
Right.
have to tell you, this guy has been a life changer for me, no doubt. The decisions he helped me to make, I believe in large part, put me in the position I was in to make this decision. So, yes,
Mhm.
great point. Not everyone can do it. Now, let me talk about trade offs because I left
Right.
a lot on the table by leaving that job. Okay.
Yes.
And so my logic was okay, first of all, let me call my financial advisor and ask him, can I do this? That's the first thing I did. I was literally driving home and I'm like, hey, I got a crazy question for you. Can I retire at 55? And flat out right away, he said, yes, you can. But he had an asterisk on it. He said, yes, you can, but you have to decide what kind of lifestyle you want. If you're saying that you're going to give up that job and just do this other job that can draw an income for you, but won't replace your income, you're going to say, I'm going to have to change my quality of life. Right? You may be able to have the same things you have now. What's your motivation? My motivation is the time. I need time back for my family. I'm willing to figure it out. I'm going to go do it. Great. So he said, yes, you can, but. And my
Mhm.
but was, okay, I either will decide to change my lifestyle or I'll earn other ways, find other ways to earn to
To
maintain one.
supplement. Right. To maintain. Right.
And so the kind of person I am is I'm a driven person. I mean, I wasn't going to sit on the couch having ice cream every night. I was going to be an earner. I just didn't know what it was.
Right.
Right. So the coaching and consulting in effect complemented the small business to put me I would say about on par where I was with my original earning. So
Mm,
again, that said, I was prepared to make a choice. If I didn't get another source of income, I would have changed my lifestyle. I realize not everybody can do that.
mhm.
So,
And changing lifestyle, can that, for instance, mean like stepping down on some lifestyle, kind of like, if we, for instance, have three jet skis and we all the time go to the lake, for instance, or we go 4 times per year to Europe, for instance,
yeah,
would that also mean that when we are changing lifestyle to just really decide, okay, is more time and intensive time with the things and the people that do matter to me the most more important to me instead of having three jet skis in the garage? Is that fair to say that that kind of lifestyle change would have to be considered too in those kind of decisions?
100% right. Absolutely. I look at it this
Mhm.
way. Again, not to say you don't want to preserve your financial well-being over a long time
Right.
because we don't know how long we're going
Right.
to live and all this other stuff. And look, everyone's in different situations. But if you asked me, and this is really my thought process, right? The funneling of decisions was time first, items, things second,
Next.
right?
Right.
So I can't take that stuff with me, but I can create
Anyway.
memories. I can create memories. So for me, life is a series of creating memories with the people that you care about. That's it.
Mhm.
Like
And
if I
leaving
get
it, yeah,
nothing else,
right.
that's and leaving them with that. Absolutely. So
Hmm.
if I get nothing else but that, and that weighs so much in terms of importance for me and value,
Hmm.
I'm gonna do that.
Hmm.
I'm absolutely
Hmm.
gonna do that.
I
So
also feel like with that statement, it hits me so deep just because so often, when we speak about these things, the worldly wealth, I'm not saying it's not beautiful to have three jet skis, or like, I'm not saying any of that, but is exactly what you said. We cannot take anything with us anyway, except for we will take our own memories that we created, and we will leave the memories that we created with the people or the situations or the impact that we made. Those we are leaving behind. And that's truly, really, when they talk about legacy, to me, when I identify with the word, what's your legacy? Like the question alone, I feel like this would be an answer to me, to say the memories that I was able to create with someone or some people that mattered the most to me in my life, that made me every day. Like the reason why I'm doing this is because for them, or because we get to enjoy this outcome together. Because it's, what's the point of having all these billions in your account and you're sitting there by yourself, for instance, or nobody likes you, or you don't like anybody, or you're so disconnected from your own self that you don't even value, and you can't, not because you're a bad person, but because you mislearned through that part of I'm wanting more, I'm wanting more, I'm wanting more. It got replaced by now somewhat greediness, and now you forget, why did you even start to begin with? Like, what was the drive from the very beginning before you got so successful? And to me, that really just shows that, when people have these literally on purpose life-changing moments that they're so in tune with, it just so means that they really understand what life is really about.
that's so well put, and I believe all of that wholeheartedly. I think it's too many people, and the legacy point you made was spot on. I did a talk at a university not too long ago, and it was on building your brand. And I talked about a lot of different topics, but one of them was your legacy.
Mm,
And it's part of a model that I developed called the well-balanced leader model. And one of those components of the well-balanced leader is what's the impact you want to have on others, just the way you put it. And it could be
right.
professionally and or personally, right? But at the end of the day, what is the impact you're having on other people? For me, I want it to be that I was so invested in my family that I created these experiences, memories, what have you, valuable lessons, whatever it might be, passed down to my kids that they will remember and hopefully carry on the next generation if they're blessed enough to have children, right?
Yeah.
And that's something I think that would be of great value that doesn't cost anything. It
Hmm.
doesn't cost anything. It's choices. And I think what I've seen, and this is one of the reasons that prompted me to act like I did, take the leap without knowing, with having uncertainty, is I think too many
Right.
of us don't live for now. Like I said, nothing's promised. It's not a dress rehearsal. Like, we don't live for now. It's not like, what can I do now to be happy? It's not if this,
Mhm,
then that. All right.
mhm,
A lot of people live with,
mhm.
okay, but when I take care of these 10 things, then it'll happen. Okay, fine. Those 10 things may never be taken care of.
Never. And when you said earlier at the beginning of the conversation, when you said that you wanted to enjoy the ride, if this only meant you worked through your checklist, we went to T-ball, we went to basketball practice, we went to dance recitals and da, 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 and you just checked it off and done, done, done. But really, what you just said is exactly what this is about. You 100% in that moment, in the now, I'm at basketball practice with my son
Yep.
watching him. And that's all I am doing. If
That's
I'm
right.
doing the dishes, literally, I am just doing full heartedly my dishes. And I know this sounds so simple, but this is, I feel like when we have such a challenging time between either being stuck in the past of certain traumas that we bring, that we try to heal and overjump and leave behind, into what's going to come next, into the future of like, I got to prepare for this, I got to get this done, and next week and in 3 months and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, it's, for me, it was very challenging because I'm such a doer, you know, to really stay in that aspect of, okay, what is actually happening today and tomorrow? Like, as far as it goes, like only today and tomorrow, you know, not thinking about and maybe putting some raw plans on on paper, but not so much understanding of, honestly, I really don't know if, even if I make a plan today, even if I have it all drawn out to the T, to the detail, how will I know that I will even get there? Just like you said, how will we know that? So, isn't it so much easier on our minds to just be like, you know what? I don't know. Yeah, sounds good. Let's talk about it 2 days prior. you know, kind of thing. I mean, just the finding the balance between, when you are a business owner and an entrepreneur, you got to be prepared, as you know the best. You have to put certain things in motion prior to get to the result, because if you miss your boat, if you don't put your ducks in a row, stuff can hit the fan. But
Yes.
how do you still balance between ducks being put in the row, but we're
Yeah.
still here? There, no duck is on the lake. It's only in the row. Like,
Yes. It's a matter, I think it boils down to really shifting priorities. And it really gets you anchored in being 100% present in one thing, right?
right.
Being in the moment, being 100% present. That doesn't mean you never plan, but it does mean that you need to be agile. Stuff is going to happen. Like, you cannot plan everything.
Right.
It's going to change. Whatever you think might happen a month from now, something's probably going to happen that's going to change that thing from happening a month from now, potentially. So it's really striking a balance of, again, depending on the environment you're in, if you're a business owner or a leader, that you need to think ahead, there's an element of that, certainly. But the shifting of priorities is really more focused on the right now and what's important to you most in that moment, that something else
Right.
will actually wait, that will be deprioritized, not,
Right.
oh, do it all at the same time.
I feel like it's that, but it's also, to taking it a spiritual level further, it's just having that faith, right? That leap, that inner leap. And it, to me, it could be anything you're having faith in. It could be a glass of water, it could be the stars, it could be the moon, it could be whatever. For me, I know what my faith is in, but I feel like that was so helpful to me, to always know, no matter what, number one, I can't control anything either. Yeah, I can do manifestations, I have aspirations, I have dreams, I have whatever, but fundamentally, I'm not in control. If this is not the will from upstairs, listen, I can write it 20 times on a piece of paper and talk to the moon about it. It just won't transpire, because sometimes, rejections that we receive, I learned in my life, are absolutely the protection from above. Like, so often have I sat there and I'm like, man, this didn't work out, and why isn't this happening, and what's going on, like, why, what is missing? And then now I look back and I'm like, oh, my goodness, if that would have happened for me as I so wanted it, it would have been so bad. I could have not handled it myself because I was not prepared mentally, spiritually,
Mm.
or emotionally to even handle the stress that will come with it, or the missing pieces that I needed to recreate or develop, or something else, so I feel like that's sometimes also, to me, when really things get a lot, it's just to literally take a breather and just be like, you know what, it's okay, there's a plan, it's all right.
Yep.
you know
And that's a great point because it's your mindset, right?
yeah,
And not worrying about things that you just can't control, right? So dealing with uncertainty is very unnerving for many people,
yeah,
and most people, I would say. Right? No one likes to either have to deal with change or not know what's coming, and but other people can just roll with that. For me, that was a very big part of my conviction going from corporate America to changing my lifestyle. I was so determined to improve my quality of life, which was really taking back time. In essence, that's what it was, right?
right,
That was more important to me than knowing exactly what was ahead of me. Again, I asked certain questions. It wasn't this willy-nilly, I'm tapping out tomorrow. Guess what? Here's my, I'm handing in my badge. No, it wasn't like that. It was thoughtful, but there was still a big element of uncertainty. And I was comfortable enough and had enough confidence in myself that I was willing to bet on myself. And I had such conviction around that decision that I was willing to go and figure it out without knowing the answer.
yeah,
That's the difference.
that
And
is
that's
that's a big
possible
difference.
for many people. Like, again,
Mhm.
if you set your own criteria for what that next chapter looks like for you and you ask the right questions, that doesn't mean you're going to have all the answers before you do it. You just have to know in your own mind and heart that it's important enough for you to go do it
Right,
and believe you can do it. You do. You
right.
have to believe you can do it.
You have to, I mean, it starts within you. I truly believe all the ideas and all the ways how I'm able to be creative and artistic, I literally, it's planted in me. But if I'm not believing in myself that I can actually execute those ideas, even though I've received them, then who's going to do it? I'm like, if I'm sitting there, and I tell you honestly, at the beginning, when I started my own business, I wasn't as confident as I am today. By no means. I was like, well, I mean, who will listen to me, and why would they even whatever, and what is my answer when they ask me really really intense questions, like, what is even my elevator pitch, like, what am I even, because it was all those little details, how we are jumping in and really refining again our own true identity. That's almost like you building, not building, but like you tapping in your actual true character after all these life experiences, all these jobs and executions that you've done, to actually get into, this is really what I'm supposed to do. And I feel like, spending time alone in solitude at times and just really be like honing in on your own self, like you said, like if it sits right in here and in here, and you get to combine those two, because I tell you, sometimes when the mind battles the heart, that's a
Yeah,
tough one too, like
absolutely.
that's really challenging too. But I feel like when we get into that space of like, it feels good in here and it makes so much sense up here too, who cares, I'm
That's
with
right.
it, let's go you
That is
know
absolutely right.
yeah, yeah, wow, wow. I'm just, I'm
I
just
had
so
a,
inspired by your story, honestly. Because
well,
I feel
thank
like
you.
when COVID was happening, I offered my services just to talk to really corporate people, and we all commingled in Zoom meetings together, and just brainstormed and just helped each other and encouraged each other. And when I tell you, so many people have told me, I'm leaving a seven-figure job because I can't stand it for the life of me anymore to not to rush through my breakfast, have a bar in my car, barely make it even to the office. I already had two Zoom meetings on my way there. It's like when I get to the office, I'm bombarded with emails. I have no time to have normal dinner with my wife or my husband, let alone read a book, let alone take a bath. Like, it was crazy to me how people really, when they said, you know what, I do not care what's going to happen. All I know is I need to live life.
Yes. I mean, look, I'll take it a step further. I think the newer professional generation does not stand for that.
Right.
Our current executive level, more senior leaders, right? This is the way that this is their DNA. This is kind of the way they've been learning to address their careers and professional obligations. But you
Mhm.
talk to a lot of people who are younger professionals, they're like, don't sign me up for that. I don't want that. They have it right. They have it like, you know
Mhm.
what? It's more important to me to maybe make less and
Mhm.
have the things that I want
Mhm.
in life
Mhm.
versus what they would view as, not to say that this is their words, but they might
Right.
view something like selling their soul to a company.
Yeah.
A lot of people are not willing to do that. And, you know, when you talked about legacy and we talk about lacking self-care and all of that stuff, I developed this model which ties into a lot of what we're talking about. It's called the well-balanced leader model. And it really was a manifestation of what I observed from leaders when I was in corporate America. And I think to a degree, some of what I was experiencing myself.
Mhm.
And the the anchor of this model really all comes down to you can live a totally fulfilled life. That's the premise. You can live a totally fulfilled life. You could be a senior executive, but
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be siloed in. I'm a rock star executive, and that's it.
Mhm.
Because
Or addition, work 100 million hours and
that's what
save
that's what
myself to
comes with that.
something. Right.
That that's absolutely what comes with that. So what I observed and what I was feeling, I think a little myself was, okay, you could be
Mhm.
this rock star executive, you know, working 15-hour days, 7 days a week, and missing events and family things and important personal stuff. And that's great. You know, they'll put like this awesome thing on your tombstone. You were an awesome executive. You 10x the business and you were the best leader ever. And that's great. But if that's all you have, and that's the premise of this model, this well-balanced leader model, it says, no, it doesn't have to be that way. It could
Right.
be, you could be totally fulfilled in life. You could make choices to be a great executive, excellent leadership, a master of your time, drive great
Mhm.
results, all of that, but not at the expense of everything else. You could also have self care, continue to develop yourself personally and professionally, and you
Mhm.
can create your legacy, exactly what you talked about before. So,
Mhm.
focusing on those other last three things that I said are more really the personal component than it is professional. So, it's really taking this holistic view of your life and saying, yeah, it's important to me to be very successful professionally, but I also equally need to have a life that I love
Right.
outside of my career, right? So this
Right.
model, this well-balanced leader model says you could have it all. You could be fulfilled in your whole life so long as you make choices. And here's the benefit. When you do ride off into the sunset and you retire, it's not going to be now what? Well, geez, I spent all these years neglecting myself. I don't have a hobby. Oh boy, I don't have any relationships.
Or I
Nobody
don't even
talks
know
to me.
myself. I don't even know
I'm not even in touch
myself.
with anything. Once the
Yeah.
work is over, you have no clue.
Right.
And that's not a good way to live post retirement. For me,
Mhm.
I think it's just the opposite. I am
Yeah.
living completely fulfilled life. It's balanced with a drive to be successful, to have an impact on others, to earn, live a good life, of course, but have all the other things that I mentioned previously that are more important to me.
Yes. And I
That's
think
really
and I think it also boils down to what each individual human considers as success in general, right?
absolutely
Because
no
for some
doubt.
people, success can simply be, I have every day my beautiful coffee in a setting like where you're sitting. To me, that would be so fulfilling, by the way, just to have the privilege of come out to a garden like that and smell the beautiful fresh air and the pine trees and the see the changing leaves and all. Like, I love that. And it makes me happy. But listen, I'm not hating on going to a specific label store and get myself a nice label bag. I'm not hating on that either. You see what I'm saying? So it's really like, also, how do you define for yourself what true
Oh yeah.
success really means? And I think for you and I, we're the type of people, we find success in the small things in life, and in the most valuable things, like really quality time, feeling good, eating good food, like laughing a lot, and just being an inspiration to just something or someone. And even if it's just one person that has a conversation and says, you know what, or signs up for your sessions or whatever, and says, you know what, you changed my life. Like the way your financial person changed your life, this is exactly what life should be about in any profession we do. This is exactly what this is. Not only made he his cut off of you, because of course he needs to get paid, but more importantly, he made an impact so you will have a better financial life.
No doubt.
And I feel like when we all have this mindset of how can I contribute to something that will be helpful to somebody else, abundance will come just automatically by you having the
Yes.
right intention. Yeah.
That's a great word. I love that word abundance. I think all of the things we're talking about, it's a very personal decision,
Mhm.
different perspectives that people have, how they define that success, whatever. For me,
Right.
it's just living intentionally. That's really what it
Yeah,
boils down to.
that's
It's
big.
recognizing that the way I want to account for my time and really treasure that time
Mhm.
requires that I do things with great intention, meaning
Mhm.
spending the time on the things that are most important, knowing that when I
Mhm.
had that crazy pace, I couldn't do all of it.
Yeah,
So I had to stop and think about what would be most beneficial. How would I define success for me? And it's
right.
just about living an intentional life.
Yeah, which is such a great word to end this
Sorry, we
episode.
have a
You
helicopter
know,
going overhead.
you know, that's okay. But you know what? I don't even want to add anything to that, because this was such a wonderful sentence to just really wrap it up, because it's so true. It's just so true, you know. And I want to again extend my I'm so grateful for you. I'm so happy
I
we
am.
crossed paths.
Me too.
I this is wonderful. Thank you for opening your personal stories for me and my
Yeah.
journey, and being a great example of what truly a wonderful human is. Like, to
But
me,
thank you
you're a
so
great
much.
example of really just being a good human.
Thank you.
I feel like that when he looks down on you, he's like, oh, I'm happy with you, you know?
That's so great.
And
And I
and
appreciate that very much. I also appreciate
seriously.
you because I feel like when we first met, even right at the
Hmm.
offsite mastermind event, we definitely do have very common threads in how we think and what's
Yeah,
important. And we had great conversations about our kids, right? And so
right.
I just appreciate that you and I can share a similar value system, right? And then
Mhm.
the hope is that this great conversation that we had, other people will say, wow, that really is possible. And you know what? It's going to inspire
Mhm.
me to take an action on something, something that's
Yeah,
going to make me, and finish the sentence, more fulfilled, happier,
totally.
whatever it
Totally.
might be. So this was
Yeah.
of tremendous, tremendous uh, value and pleasure to me. So thank you for taking the time to reach out and say, let's talk on a podcast. That was just so awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you also for taking time. And to you, podcast lovers, if like any time, if you have something to say, if you maybe have your own thing you want to share and you want to be an inspiration, and it could be anything, it could be anything your heart tells you to share to be an inspiration for the collective. My mic is always open. But until then, stay rooted, stay blessed, and always stay connected to love, the strongest force in the universe. Till the next time.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.